Hi, I'm Rhiannon Faith, and I want to tell you a story. I was thinking about the storms because it's monsoon season here in Arizona, which is my favorite season. And one of my favorite things are storms. And anybody who knows me knows how just beside myself, elated, excited, ridiculous I become during storm season. And it's not limited to socially appropriate audiences either. I guess embarrassment would probably be the right word, embarrassed myself in front of colleagues and staff and a variety of other people when a storm has come through, particularly the monsoon storms, because they're so spectacular. And it's funny, actually, when I was moving to Arizona, a friend of mine who we were moving out here at the same time with, she was telling me about the monsoon storms, and I thought, yeah, right. What is she talking about? Monsoons happen in India. Well, they do, but they also happen in Arizona, central Arizona, and they are phenomenal. So if you have not had the pleasure, you're missing out. And monsoon season stretches from June 15th to September 15th, and can start a little earlier, run a little late, whatever. But the storms are magnificent. They're tons of rain and lightning. They're very electric storms, lots of wind. Sometimes we have a haboob, a big dust storm that comes preceding the full torrential downpour and all of the rest of that. But it's just the most powerful display of God's power, and I can't help but be so beside myself excited. And I think the reason I like the storm so much is the same reason I like wind so much. So I don't know about you, but I've certainly seen my fair share of turmoil, trials, challenges in life. And there have been a couple of critical times, probably more than a couple. But while I'm just about at that point where I'm feeling sorry for myself or overwhelmed by the circumstances, that I suddenly remember God's power, and I remember it through the wind. So I'll be reminded that He's moving even if I can't see it, just like the wind. And so the thing I like so much about the storms is that same sort of experience, that reminder that even though what I can see is stuff raging all around me, I can be at peace and I can be calm, and I can just take the next necessary step because I'll be okay. And, truthfully, it's possible. And there have been times where I would argue I was, in fact, not okay. But that power of God in nature is just the coolest thing. And I always felt the same way growing up in San Diego, being in the ocean, not even riding the waves necessarily. There would just be times where I would so enjoy laying on a board and just feeling the movement of the water and the power and the magnitude. And I would love to go out during storm surge, not necessarily to be in the water, because as cool as that is, it's also pretty dangerous. I certainly did go out during various storm surge occasions, but just feeling that power, that unbridled power, and the unsure nature of it. So you can't predict the outcome. Like, I used to think all the time, earthquakes would be so cool if you knew it would be okay. The fact that you really don't know whether that earthquake is ramping up or petering out or is a precursor to something so much more dramatic leaves you feeling very unnerved. And I didn't feel that way necessarily when I was a kid all the time, but I certainly did once I had kids. Just that feeling that I couldn't keep them safe really was an unravelment for me. And most of the time with the storms here, the monsoon storms, they have sort of a predictable time frame to them. They often come in late afternoon. It's when the atmospheric pressure conditions are right. It's not always that way, but often that way. And so generally you could be home and not out driving on the road unless you're unfortunately stuck in commuter traffic. Not awesome in monsoons, but just getting to see and experience that. And it's funny because there are times where I've really been at my end point, and for whatever reason, those had come a number of occasions during the summer. and I guess during the winter too, but coincidentally there would be a storm, a real legitimate storm that was happening out and around me. And one particular time I was just so overwhelmed and sad that I felt like I couldn't even breathe. And I went out into a field, a sports field in Surprise, 8 acres, and I laid in the middle of the field, not near a light post. It's, just for the record, I wasn't just totally ridiculous. And I just laid on my back in the middle of the field while this massive monsoon storm was coming through. And so it was just pelting rain and the lightning and wind and thunder, and it was so peace-giving. That sounds ridiculous, I recognize, but I just felt so comforted by that because God's power was all around me, and my problem really was minuscule, as crushing as it was to me in that moment. And it really was a crummy situation. As bad as that was, the storm that was going on around me just put it all into perspective that I would be okay. And so it reminded me of the story in Matthew 8, when Jesus calms the storm. So the disciples follow him onto the boat, and they're heading out, and this massive storm comes around, and everybody starts unraveling, like hardcore flipping out. And they're, how is this possible? This guy is asleep while this is happening, because Jesus is just, taking a nap, felt like the right time. And so they wake him up and are, unhinged that, my goodness, the storm is happening and what are we going to do? And we're all going to die. So catastrophizing the situation. And he just says, "You have little faith. Why are you so afraid?" And and he just told the wind to stop and the waves to stop, and it did. And so I don't know why. I'm sure I'm not the only person, but for some reason then, whenever I face trials and struggles and challenges in life, and I end up with this comfort of storm presence, I'm reminded of this and recognizing that if it got to a point where I was really in danger or it was really too much, God would just call the wind and the waves to stop, and that would be the end of it. And my only job in the midst of the trial is to hold fast and cling to my faith that God has taken me through all of the different things that he's taken me through so far. And so he'll keep taking me through this next thing too. And so that has given me a great deal of comfort. And with the storm tonight, just sitting there, I was at a coffee shop tonight with my husband and bonus daughter, and we were just chatting about things, and I was transfixed by the storm. I was looking at the storm tracker, and I was watching through the big windows, the storm and the lightning and the just torrential downpour. And I do want to say, I don't love that in the midst of these storms, people are injured and properties are lost and property is damaged. And there are challenges that come from all of this that I'm not lost. That's not lost on me. But they bring me tremendous comfort. And the wind, the rain, the storm just reminds me of God's power and my smallness, which really, again, it just helps put it into perspective. And so I sat there like it was Christmas morning, so excited. And really what I most wanted to do was go out and play in the rain, because that's where I'm at. And I would do that without question on any occasion, because it's marvelous and I love it so much. And so I hope this is an encouragement to you. Maybe you've seen other storms. I think about it all the time, though. What if somebody has gone through some really treacherous storm where, there were lives lost or families lost or your property lost catastrophically. And I can't even understand what that loss is like. And so I'm not by any means minimizing this. And I haven't been in that situation, but I do pray that if I was, that I would not lose sight of God's goodness in the storm, or not come to, hate storms because they scare me now that I've been in that situation, if that makes sense. And this goes way back to when I was a kid. We lived in Knoxville for a while when I was young, and I used to sit out on the porch and watch the storms. It seemed like it always stormed on Wednesdays because my mom did laundry on Wednesdays. So inevitably it was raining. But I would sit on the porch swing and just rock back and forth as the storm raged, and the rain seemed to come from every direction, and just buckets of water would fall, and just feel so safe and so comfortable in that. So that's my oddity, weirdness. Anybody who knows me already knew those things about me. I'm weird when I think about the number of times I've squealed and startled someone because of a storm and my excitement about the storm. So not full storm chaser, although I do scrutinize the storm tracker pretty well throughout monsoon season. But I think it's wonderful and I love it. And so I just wanted to share that with you. So I hope you enjoyed the story, and that it bring you a little bit of encouragement that even though the storm might be raging on around you, God is right in the middle of that with you, and He can call the waves and the wind to stop. And if He isn't, that isn't a reason to resign your faith or confidence that He's got your back in this and that He will be with you through it. So anyways, that's the story for tonight. If you like this, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to know that you're out there. Give me a comment. And otherwise, come back again and I'll tell you another story. Thanks.